How's it going down there? Have you found the entrance? Seeing Fang Hao sitting silently to the side, Li Rong asked anxiously. 2 waves of enemies were cleared out in succession, although we also found 2 golden treasure chests. The real purpose of this trip was to find the temples marked on the map. Everyone's been busy until now, and nobody wants to leave empty-handed. Yeah, should we bring over a few iron clawrat? And Jia whispered a suggestion from the side. At this moment, Fang Hao looked at Li Rong and said, "We've found a clue. Give the fingerbone staff to Bu." No sooner had the words left her mouth than a splash was heard, and the snake woman Bu emerged from beneath the lake. Their gaze turned this way. Li Rong handed the staff directly to her. After the snake woman left, Li Rong approached Jia and asked softly, "Is this a newly recruited hero? What race is he?" Below the lake, I took another look at the stone gate in front of me. As indicated, Baiyu stepped back a short distance. Fang Hao inserted his fingerbone directly into the hole in the stone gate. When the last quarter is completely submerged, it fits perfectly. Immediately following, a crisp click. The stone gate follows a special line, revealing a pattern that connects end to end. With a slight rumble, the massive stone gate blocking the way suddenly opened. A large wave was stirred up at the bottom of the lake. It really is a key made from a finger. Besides the joy of finding the solution, I was also amazed by the ingenious design of the Merman Temple. Who would have thought that they would use the bones of their own people as the key to open the door? The whirlpool created by the water blew the 2 of them several meters away. I steadied myself and looked back at the stone gate. I was startled again. Behind the stone gate, however, was not a passage leading to the next place. Instead, a layer of shimmering water curtain separates the stone gate. Like the bubbles blown with foam when we were children, clear and colorful. The lake and the stone gate separate them into 2 distinct worlds. Through the water curtain, one can see the interior. The ground was covered with fine white sand, with white pebbles of varying sizes scattered on it. The azure lake water floats in the air, and the waterfall cascades down, flowing gently along the white sand beach. Behind all the scenery was a huge and magnificent palace. Fang Hao stared in astonishment at everything revealed behind the water curtain. For a moment, it was hard to believe. He never imagined that the temple he was looking for would appear before him in this way. "My lord, what should we do next?" Baiyu asked, approaching him in surprise. Fang Hao thought for a moment and then said, "Bring over some skeleton soldiers. I'll go in and check on things later." "Yes, sir." Before long, large numbers of skeleton soldiers followed Bu as it swam down the river. They were densely packed underwater. Fang Hao controlled the demon puppet, reaching out with his right hand to gently touch the water curtain. Without any hindrance, it passed right through, just like putting your hand into water, creating ripples. After waiting silently for a few seconds, I withdrew my hand again. The arm remains intact and appears to pose no danger. They then used several other methods to investigate the internal situation, but still found no danger. After exchanging a few brief words with Bu, he walked directly into the water curtain. When my vision cleared again, I was already behind the water curtain. Originally, I was relieved that the water curtain couldn't block the divine descent effect, but once inside, the scene before him made his soul fire tremble slightly. The clean and beautiful scene that was just now is no more. What they got in return was decay and filth everywhere. The fine sand turned into sticky, rotten silt. Above, the azure lake water was filled with floating corpses of the dead. The dark red, viscous lake water flowed down the waterfall. The temple in the distance, though still enormous and magnificent, did not appear as radiant as it did from the outside. Dilapidated and desolate, it was eerie and ghostly. "What's going on?" "This also has automatic image editing. It doesn't look quite like the one outside," Fang Hao said, looking at the inverted water hanging overhead. Just then, a rotting, skeletal giant tortoise carcass drifted by with the current. Just now, it felt so beautiful from the outside, but now the scene is so unbearable. The cover of Heaven is just a promotional poster for Hell. Instead of immediately sending all the troops in, they did not. Instead, he observed the surroundings and found no enemies. Only then did they continue to carefully step forward towards the dilapidated temple. If the fishmen in the lake are the guardians of the temple, now that they've cleared out the enemy, it's time to collect their rewards. But anything can happen, so it's best to be cautious. We carefully made our way forward, treading on the rotten mud. They walked all the way to the temple, but did not see any enemies appear. Just as I was about to continue, I stepped onto the stone steps in front of the temple. Suddenly, a huge shadow began to expand beneath his feet. Fang Hao suddenly raised his head. A massive body, as large as a small mountain, fell from the lake, hanging upside down overhead. My heart tightened. Controlling demon puppet, it turned and pounced backward. Boom! A tremendous roar erupted, and the entire space trembled violently. After rolling over, he stood up and looked back. A gigantic fish-headed giant was already standing in front of the temple. A giant-like body, clad in tattered armor. He held a giant double-edged battle axe in his hand. On the head and abdomen, large rotten gaps were visible, revealing silt and bits of flesh hanging from the skeleton. His eyes scanned downwards, his gaze blank and devoid of any emotion. It looks more like a dead rotting corpse, or an undead. Ancient blood god servant, Guru Kabagu, Dark Gold Tier 5. The Dark Gold hero of the Murloc race. Fang Hao was startled once again. This map exploration was indeed extremely difficult. After battling two different factions, they encountered the Orange Hero and the Purple Hero. Finally, the last temple was found, and suddenly a Dark Gold Tier 5 hero appeared. This kind of battle is extremely difficult to conquer, even for a single alliance of transmigrators. If Li Rong were to solve it on her own, even if the Mage Association were brought in, she probably still wouldn't be able to pass the level. Fang Hao stared at the giant in front of him, carefully backing away. I want to keep this doll-like body of mine. Lately, I've been going through a lot of stuffed animals. Those who trespass on the temple shall die. Ancient blood god's servant roared in fury. Their gazes also fell on the figure who was carefully retreating, completely encased in iron armor. Cough. I am the high priest of the fishmen, Gulu Frog, and I have important news to convey to the divine servant, Fang Hao said in a low voice, stopping in his tracks. For a moment, I didn't know how to deal with it. He just blurted it out. The name Gulu Frog refers to the merman high priest who was killed earlier. High priest? What intelligence? Ancient blood god's servant looked at him in confusion. Sure enough, my IQ is starting to drop. Those wretched ogres on the shore are preparing to attack the temple. They have already. On the lakeshore, Fang Hao's expression suddenly turned serious and frightened, which still caught the attention of the others. And Jia immediately asked, "Is there a problem down there?" "Yes. Is there some kind of enemy?" Li Rong asked. Even Morse, who had been just observing and simply following along, joined in. Fang Hao controls the demon puppet, multitasking while also being able to control himself. He said solemnly, "A guard has appeared before the temple, the Dark Gold Hero." Dark Gold Hero. The others also widened their eyes. What kind of fate do they have? He casually picked up a map from a nobleman. That's how Dark Gold Hero came about. What should we do? Is there any way? Li Rong asked. After all, it was underwater, and the environment was an important factor affecting the course of the battle. Let's back up. If there's any danger, Morse, protect Li Rong and get out of there first, Fang Hao instructed. At the same time, a warrior-type demon puppet was released. He jumped into the lake and headed towards the area where Bai was located. "My lord, what is this?" Bai Yu looked up and asked curiously. "You don't need to be in charge here anymore. Go up and stand within Jia. If that dark gold murloc comes out, given the underwater conditions, it's highly likely that Bai could be taken away in one fell swoop. That would be a huge loss." "Oh yes, sir." Although Bai Yu was a little confused, she still agreed. They swam towards the shore. Fang Hao then addressed the horde of skeleton warriors behind him. "Go in and kill every enemy you see." Splash, splash. As soon as the skeletons moved, large bubbles rose up. A swarm of water surged toward the curtain ahead. Inside the water curtain, "Damn undead. How dare you blaspheme the gods here?" Finally realizing something was wrong, the ancient blood god's servant let out an angry roar. He raised his battle axe and swung it down at Fang Hao. Fang Hao was prepared. As soon as he roared angrily, he turned and ran. Hearing the whooshing sound behind him, he lunged forward. He narrowly escaped the blow of the giant axe. Boom! The giant axe landed on the ground, and the entire space trembled incessantly. "Offer your soul to the great god." Another roar. Fang Hao turned his head slightly and saw the huge, ancient blood god servant, holding an axe in its right hand and pressing down in the air with its left hand. Just when Fang Hao thought he was going to give up the pursuit, a tremendous resistance greatly slowed his escape. Looking down, his legs were engulfed by a whirlpool of water, hindering his ability to move. Then, a thick column of water shot out from a distance. Bang! With a loud bang, his body was sent flying backward. The armor on his chest was dented, and several bones inside were broken, but it didn't kill him instantly. After all, this body is also that of a hero. It still has some strength. That is, at this time, a large number of undead poured in through the water curtain. He stared blankly around, searching for the enemy mentioned in the order. Fang Hao swayed his body, got up, and felt a little more confident. He pointed at the giant and shouted, "Go, kill him!" Splash! The skeletons found their target and began to surge towards the enemy ahead. The ancient blood god servant, whose gaze remained vacant, saw even more undead pouring in. They became even angrier and more irritable. The roars shook the surface of the lake above, creating ripples. The left hand pressed down again. Beneath the feet of the undead, they were all entangled in whirlpools, and their movement speed was instantly slowed down. After releasing the attack, another move. Countless jets of water cascaded down from the inverted lake overhead, crashing into the ranks of the undead. In an instant, the undead at the forefront were smashed into pieces. Even the armor on their bodies was twisted and deformed under the impact of the water jets. Fang Hao was surprised. That's some amazing skill. Lightning strike, get ready. The charging undead stopped as if a pause button had been pressed. A lightning-streaked thunder spear appeared on one hand. At the same time, it stopped outside the water column area. Enemy's upper body area. Throw spears. Fang Hao continued to shout loudly. The area here is not very large. If you throw it at the ground, it will hit your teammates in front of you. But this giant was over 10 meters tall. As long as you toss it towards his chest, there won't be any problems. Upon hearing Fang Hao's command, thunder spears from all directions were hurled at the body of the ancient blood god servant. It made a snapping sound. The exploding lightning bolts caused the giant to stagger and take 2 steps back. Lightning strike ended, and so did the water strike skill. Fang Hao continued shouting, "Attack!" Skeleton soldiers launched another attack. Taking advantage of the ancient blood god's servant's moment of staggering, they had already reached them. They swarmed and rushed forward. On the lakeshore, Fang Hao unleashed the dimensional gate, summoning hordes of troops once again. This time, it wasn't just skeleton warriors, but also a large number of skeleton archers and skeleton giant bats. Underwater, the warrior-type demon puppet left behind loudly commands the skeletons swimming down to enter the water curtain. Meanwhile, within the water curtain, another demon puppet commands the soldier to gang up on the tall and ferocious giant. Ding ding dong dong. The sound of weapons colliding filled the space. The head-on battle was far more brutal than imagined. The ancient blood god's servant relentlessly wielded his battle axe, cleaving hordes of undead in two, scattering them into a pile of white bones. While slashing and hacking, the ancient blood god servant also unleashed powerful water magic. Water jets kept falling from above. The water dragon raged around like a whirlwind, tearing skeleton soldiers apart wherever it went. The strength displayed by the ancient blood god servant still surprised Fang Hao somewhat. Fortunately, it was within this limited area. Otherwise, if left to roam freely in the vast lakes and seas outside, even with a large army, he might be powerless to control him. Skeleton giant bat, attack its head. Skeleton archer, shoot at his upper body. Fang Hao squeezed at the back of the line, loudly issuing orders. The entire space was now packed with skeleton soldiers, while the skeletons in the back stood silently. Wait for the skeletons in front to fall before charging in to continue the attack. Phew! Clap, clap, clap. Upon receiving the order, hordes of skeleton giant bats charged toward the massive ancient blood god servant. Because above their heads is an upside-down lake, the altitude is greatly limited. Skeleton giant bat could only charge head-on at the giant. The ancient blood god servant, upon noticing the approaching swarm of giant bats, immediately extended his webbed left hand, pointing it towards the approaching group. Instantly, another jet of water gushed out and shot into the giant bat. Splash! The giant bat that was struck turned into bones and fell from the sky. More giant bats bypassed the water column attack and flew to his head, beginning to bite the rotting flesh on his body. Rear. Skeleton archer's bullets, amidst a burst of gunfire, densely pierced the body of ancient blood god servant. But at this point, the divine servant was clearly in a state similar to an undead spirit. The bullet entered the flesh, but there was no pain. Crackle. The battle before us is still fierce. Rain arrows, water columns, and whirlpools. Various kinds of water magic gathered in the sky and on the ground. They were killing the undead skeletons that pounced on them. Meanwhile, the skeleton warriors, with their sheer numbers, were able to overwhelm the skeleton warriors. They gathered at the feet of the divine servant, and relentlessly slashed at his body with the weapon in their hands. More skeletons climbed up directly up the legs of the ancient blood god servant. Clinging to his thighs and waist, he gripped the iron sword in reverse and thrust repeatedly. The giant bat perched atop the divine servant's head also completely covered its head. Looking from afar, its enormous body was covered with skeletons. The ancient blood god servant kept tearing at the bats on his head with one hand, while wildly waving his battle axe with the other. He waved his arms wildly, as if he had gone mad. Crack! Suddenly, a snapping sound rang out. One of the ancient blood god servant's legs was severed by the undead army. His body lost its balance, and he fell to one side. Bang! With a tremendous roar, the divine servant fell to the ground, and the entire space trembled violently once again. Quick, kill him! Don't let him get up! Fang Hao shouted immediately. The surrounding spirits immediately pounced on him, covering the fallen body in the blink of an eye. He kept making stabbing and slashing motions. The ancient blood god's servant continued to struggle, flailing its arms wildly, sending large numbers of undead flying backward. But more skeletons still covered him. Blood gushed out like a fountain, spraying onto all the skeletons around them. The demon puppet controlled by Fang Hao has no sense of smell, but when it looks at the thick, dark red blood, it can still imagine the stench of decay. No, you lowly souls, how dare you blaspheme the dwelling place of God? You will be punished by God, and your souls will be tormented for eternity. Amidst angry roars, the towering ancient blood god servant had his neck severed. A massive head rolled to the side, crushing the rows of skeleton warriors. The skeleton warriors hacked and slashed for a while longer. They all stopped moving and stood still, waiting for orders. Dead. Fang Hao looked ahead. The once muddy ground was now covered with a layer of white bones. These are all skeleton soldiers who died in battle. It has probably reached tens of thousands. There's no way around it. This dark gold hero is proficient in both melee and range combat. Furthermore, this area at the bottom of the lake is rich in water elements, which provides a significant advantage for unleashing water magic. Push aside the skeleton blocking your way. His gaze fell upon the already deceased ancient blood god servant. Even the dark gold hero, with his physical resilience, couldn't withstand such a massive, overwhelming attack. The state of their deaths at this point was rather gruesome. Not only was he a bloody mess, but his legs, arms, and even neck had also been severed. He had been completely dismembered. After confirming actual death, Fang Hao also breathed a sigh of relief. It was finally over. At the same time, I felt a sense of joy. This is because, unlike the rotting corpse, this body did not decompose and disappear rapidly after death. Instead, it was preserved. In this way, once it's transported back, we can obtain another dark gold hero. Splash! Just as Fang Hao was filled with joy, a tremendous sound rang out from overhead. Looking back suddenly, one sees the lake hanging upside down overhead, with a huge gap appearing like glass. The dark red lake water flowed down like a waterfall. Fang Hao was startled. The place was about to collapse. Quickly, clean up the battlefield and get this body out of here. You guys follow me, Fang Hao shouted. We still have some time, so we need to find out as soon as possible if we can find any treasures. Splash! Upon hearing the command, all the skeletons sprang into action once more. A group of skeletons began carrying the corpse of ancient blood god servant out, while more skeletons picked up weapon armor from the pile of skeletons. Fang Hao also brought several skeleton warriors with him. He quickened his pace, climbed the stone steps, and rushed toward the dilapidated temple. We entered the temple. There was no further danger, nor did any enemies appear. The hall was empty, somewhat like the temple where I had encountered the Lord of Thunder last time. Nightstone chandeliers and wall lamps hang from the ceiling and the surrounding walls. The stone pillars and walls are carved with scenes of fishmen and various races performing rituals to worship gods. In the center of the hall is an altar. On the altar was a statue that resembled a fish man. The statue's body has cracked, and half of its arm has fallen off and is lying to the side. All the items before the status were identified, but no attributes were found. Quickly, move everything you can carry out of here. Be fast, Fang Hao urged loudly. The skeletons immediately sprang into action, going to remove the chandeliers and nightstone from above. Fang Hao didn't care about anything else. He climbed onto the altar and started touching the statue all over. Let's see if there are any treasures left behind by the fishman god. When my palm touched the lower back of the statue, I suddenly felt something was wrong. Upon closer inspection, they found a palm-sized scale half embedded in the stone statue. Fang Hao used force to pull the scales out. God's scales, orange. Category, items. Effect, abundant water element. Abundant water element. Filled with strong water element. Increasing water elemental skill by 75% within the covered area. Description, scales left behind by the ancient gods. Placing them may have unexpected effects. A single scale can enhance one's ability to learn and practice water magic. The effect is very good. I casually put it away and then touched the statue 2 or 3 more times. Still no results. With a single, forceful movement, Fang Hao caused the statue to fall backward instantly, shattering into pieces with a loud bang. But there were still no treasures inside. He then immediately ordered the skeletons to move all the gold and silver objects from the altar. Then, carrying all the skeletons, he ran outside. The inverted lake has already been broken open in 3 or 4 places. Water poured down. The dark red blood had already submerged his calves. No need to search for equipment anymore. Everyone back out, quick. Fang Hao continued to give the order. Still searching, the skeletons that had fallen and dropped equipment all straightened up. They rushed towards the outside of the water curtain. After all the undead had retreated. Click, whoosh. The lake overhead was completely shattered. The surging lake water plunged into the sky. Boom. Fang Hao, holding the scales of the gods and the fingerbone staff, had just stepped out of the lake. I felt my feet were unsteady and the ground was shaking. Suddenly, waves several meters high rose from the calm lake surface. They slapped the water towards the shore. The corpses of all the dead were scattered and overturned, and the neatly arranged spoils were also swept back into the lake. Fortunately, the giant wave only occurred once. Then things gradually calmed down. The skeletons began to salvage the artifacts again. The spoils were quickly rearranged. In addition to various gold and silver items, there were dozens of nightstones. In the middle is a platinum treasure chest. Li Rong stared at the platinum treasure chest, her eyes widening in surprise. It's as if they're already guessing what good stuff will come out of the treasure chest. And Jia, Bayuhu, and the others focused their attention on the enormous corpse, which resembled a small mountain, rather than on the treasure chest. What is this? And Jia asked. Yes, the dark gold level murloc I was talking about. Fang Hao replied while directing the skeletons. The others widened their eyes upon hearing this. You call this a fishman? Li Rong exclaimed as she joined in. Exactly, these aren't fishmen at all, and Jia agreed. The head is over there. It looks exactly like a fishman's. What else could it be but a fishman? Fang Hao pointed to the head not far away. The head is that of a fishman. If I had to pick, it would definitely be the fishman. And Jia then looked at the snake woman Bayu beside her. Are there fishmen like this? Bayu also shook his head. I've never seen one. The fishmen I know are all the normal-sized ones I've seen before. She had never seen a single sea creature. You still call him a fishman? Fang Hao waved his hand and said, What's so strange about that? There are schools of fish, small fish, and whales. Once they get bigger, they're no longer fish. Damn, what you said makes so much sense, Li Rong said. After that, the group did not linger there any longer. Open the dimensional gate and command the skeletons to carry everything inside. Then, he led a few people back to the main city. In front of the organ museum, Fang Hao and Nielsen sat on the wooden chairs in front of the door, watching the skeleton soldiers carrying the corpse of the ancient blood god servant. The corpse of a dark gold hero can not only increase the strength of a territory, but also enhance the strength of funeral priest and necromancer. Just like how combat heroes level up through training, a powerful corpse can also benefit the necromancer. The only problem now is that the organ museum isn't big enough. Nielsen proposed building an enclosed factory in the plaza area behind the building to complete the production of this enormous body. Fang Hao naturally had no objections, so he arranged for the skeletons to start building the house. Scholar, why do gods also die? Fang Hao asked, voicing the question that had been nagging at him. Why do you ask that? Nielsen looked at him with a puzzled expression. Fang Hao thought for a moment and continued. Today, when we explored the temple, the statue there was broken, and the guardian attendants were also in this state. It makes one wonder if gods can die. The number of gods that exist is very small. It is also the ceiling of combat power in this world. He has already encountered 2 dilapidated temples. Is this god also suffering such great damage? If death is so easily attained, then is the only difference between gods and humans simply their fighting ability? Nielsen hesitated slightly, but still explained. There are subtle records in the ancient text that the merfolk serve an ancient god, He paused slightly, then added, "It's enough for adults to know about these things. Delving too deeply will attract the attention of others." Fang Hao nodded, indicating that he understood. Nielsen was reminding himself that these things should be recorded in obscure terms in classical texts. Trying to investigate and discuss it on your own could very likely cause unnecessary trouble. Indigenous peoples still have a deep-seated awe and fear of God. Not wanting to go into details about these things only brings trouble upon oneself. Unlike transmigrators, who lack this sense of awe and spend their days discussing gods and ghosts, or capturing goddesses as maids. However, the answer I wanted was also explained. Old gods. The description of the item scales of God also mentions the old gods. Since they are called the old gods, then the gods of today are the new gods. If it's like a monarch, it can be replaced. In an instant, the level of a god dropped considerably. "Oh, I understand. I won't discuss these things." Fang Hao nodded. Nielsen nodded and steered the conversation back to the corpse, saying, "This corpse is severely damaged, and many of its internal organs are already decayed. With the museum's current capabilities, it's uncertain whether it can be made into a zombie." The body was indeed severely damaged. In that environment, with rotting corpses everywhere in the sky and lakes, the fact that he could maintain his condition was already a testament to his strength as a dark gold hero. "Can it be fixed? We will use materials to repair it, but there is still a risk of failure," Nielsen continued. Fang Hao nodded, indicating that he understood. "There's nothing we can do about it. Nielsen is the only one who knows how to make zombies. Those necromancers in Upper St. Golden City aren't even as good as Nielsen. Yes, just do your best." The two chatted for a while at the door. Soon, a maid called him back to have dinner. Nielsen also got up and walked towards the organ museum. After dinner, Fang Hao took out all the spoils of war. Besides the various artifacts brought out from the temple, there was also a dazzling platinum treasure chest. This was the most fruitful haul I've ever made in any of my previous map explorations. I had already obtained 2 golden treasure chests, but I didn't expect to defeat a dark gold hero. Another platinum treasure chest was found, including the corpse of a purple hero and the corpse of a dark gold hero. You could say it was a very rewarding experience. At this point, the platinum treasure chest was moved over. Li Rong was the provider and participant in this exploration map. They also made a huge contribution. "You drive, stop staring," Fang Hao reminded him from the side. "It doesn't matter who opens the treasure chest." Hearing that she was asked to open the treasure chests, Li Rong shook her head. "That's not a good idea. After all, you were the one who defeated the enemy. I just went on a trip with them, and I opened all the treasure chests. What's the big deal? Go ahead and drive." "No, please come. I'm afraid I can't handle it, and it will shorten my lifespan." Damn it. Fang Hao was speechless, but still went to the treasure chest. Open the treasure chest directly. In an instant, a dazzling light flashed and appeared before my eyes. Obtained. Wanderer's Crown Crafting Blueprint, purple. Wanderer's Scale Armor Crafting Blueprint, purple. Wanderer's Scale Armor Gloves Crafting Blueprint, purple. Wanderer's Boots Crafting Blueprint, purple. Exquisite Sextant, blue. Murloc's Servant Ship Totem, purple. Water Binding Skill Scroll, Sea God's Blessing, orange. Water Curtain Runestone 4, Sea Spirit Stone 288. Warfire Coin 895. The rewards were densely packed, covering the surrounding open space. Not only did Li Rong's eyes widen, but Fang Hao also felt a little dizzy for a moment. It seems that the reward this time is quite good. Besides purple, the other reward is orange, which is of very high quality. The first set is Purple's Wanderer's set. Wanderer's Crown, Fine Iron 1, Tough Leather 5, Resilient Scales 3, Thread 10, Metal Parts 8, Mithril 2. Wanderer's Scales, Cast Iron Block 5, Fine Iron 3, Tough Leather 10, Resilient Scales 8, Thread 15, Metal Parts 12, Mithril 3. Wanderer's Gloves, Tough Leather 5, Resilient Scales 3, Thread 8, Metal Parts 10, Mithril 2. Wanderer's Boots, Fine Iron 2, Tough Leather 8, Resilient Scales 5, Thread 5, Metal Parts 8, Mithril 2. The Wanderer's set is actually a type of leather armor. Among them, there was an additional material called Tough Scales, which Fang Hao did not have. It is estimated that this material should be available in coastal areas. In the set's attributes, 3 effects have been added in total. Effect: underwater movement plus 20%, physical damage minus 5%, water resistance plus 25%. The skills are pretty good. It can be said that this is a military branch suitable for those who want to go to sea. On land, this purple outfit isn't as advantageous. After looking at this set, Fang Hao handed it to Li Rong to take a look. He then picked up the next piece of equipment. Exquisite sextant, blue. Category, instruments. Description, an optical instrument used to measure the angle between two distant targets. Fang Hao fiddled with it for a moment, then looked at the hole in the middle and gazed into the distance. I'm not very good at using it, but it should be useful. Let's keep it for now. Next, there was a huge wooden statue. Fishman Divine Servant Totem, purple. Category, ship totem. Effect, ship speed plus 35%. Sea monster intimidation plus 30%. Murloc ultimatum. Murloc ultimatum. Passing through areas where murlocs are located will prevent you from being attacked by them. This effect is invalid if you initiate an attack. Description, a steadfast divine servant will protect allies as they journey across the seas. I've seen sea-themed totems in seafood shops. These are items that hang on the ship and can increase certain attributes. Sailing speed and the ability to deter sea monsters are both very useful abilities. But the third item, the Murloc Ultimatum, seems somewhat redundant. After all, the ocean is so vast, and there aren't many areas where fishmen can pass through, so it's unlikely that there will be many opportunities to use it. But then I realized that wasn't right. The area of one's own main city is on land, so this thing is useless there. We'll see who uses it in the channel then, and then we'll sell it. Water Binding Skill Scroll. Condenses a vortex, reducing the movement speed of enemies in an area by 25%. The water element concentration affects the skill's effect. He had personally experienced this skill, which could slow down his movements. The skill description stated a 25% chance of success, but at the time he felt that it far exceeded that effect, making even taking a step extremely difficult. It has the same effect as my own Lingering Spirits skill. It could be given to Li Rong. Water Curtain Runestone. Forms a water curtain that isolates water elements. For stones form a set. Fang Hao now understood how the water curtain was formed. So that's what runestones are. Finally, the main event has arrived. Poseidon's Blessing, orange. Category, amulet. Ability, water element skill casting speed plus 45%. Water element damage plus 50%. Mana regeneration plus 75%. You can breathe freely underwater. Description, devout believers exchanged thousands of lives for divine blessings. Holy crap, it's another pendant. All the orange accessories you obtain are pendants. The skill effect is quite good. It not only increased the casting speed, but also increased the damage and mana regeneration. It can be said that it is a divine artifact for water mages. However, neither he nor Li Rong were water mages. It's a bit of a pity. Li Rong, take a look at what you need and pick something out, Fang Hao said. I casually collected all the blueprints and shared them with Li Rong. Li Rong put the last orange necklace back and shook her head. Forget it. You're the one who hid it. What's the point of me taking it? Aside from blueprint, there's really not much else to divide them into. The only good thing is the orange pendant, which can increase a mage's mana regeneration. But she couldn't take the best of it. After all, she had only gone on a trip. Moreover, the unclean magnet that Fang Hao left with her last time is still with her. It's also orange, so I can't wear two pendants. Here, take this water binding skill scroll. I have a slowing skill. Fang Hao handed her the scroll. I am a fire mage. Using skill scrolls doesn't require learning them. Having one more might just save your life, Fang Hao said. Okay, I'll accept it. Fang Hao nodded and continued. There's nothing you need here. Let's go to warehouse later and see if there's anything we need. Then we can take it with us. Hey, at least you have a conscience. Li Rong cheered happily and went up to give him a hug. These rewards are of little use to her. But warehouse's armor, weapon, and even cannon, rifle, then you'll need a lot more. The reward is so generous this time. Naturally, she should also receive some compensation. By the time Li Rong was taken back, it was already getting dark. Fang Hao went to the Undead area and took a look at the factory under construction. Although it's called a factory, it's actually just a large, single-level apartment that's required to be completely opaque. If we work through the night, it can be completed within 2 days. Then, Nielsen will create the corpse of the ancient blood god servant from within. After confirming that there were no problems, I headed towards my residence. Lord's Manor remained silent. The ladies are probably off to amusement park to supervise the work again. In the main city, the busiest place is the amusement park construction site in the east. There are at least tens of thousands of skeletons carrying out construction work. Push open the backyard door. Then I saw Lorana still sitting at the stone table, holding a few pages of paper in her hands, looking at them intently. Today, I didn't wear that purple robe. Instead, she wore a lotus-colored silk nightgown made by Skeleton Tailor, revealing her delicate arms and long, straight legs. Her jade-like legs were crossed, and she leaned against the chair, her shoes hanging on her fair toes, swaying gently. Since the two confirmed their relationship, Lorana was less reserved than before, and her attire became more casual. In the backyard, I simply put on a set of pajamas. The flowing pajamas accentuate her stunning figure. Are you done with your work? Lorana asked without looking up. The giant fishman's corpse still caused quite a stir in the city. Not only were maids surrounding them, but even the undead craftsmen who didn't care much about anything outside of their work were there. They watched the excitement from afar. They were talking in hushed tones, wondering where they had gotten this corpse from. Lorana knew about this, even though she was sleeping during the day. Well, nothing much. Just leave the rest to Nielsen. Fang Hao sat down beside her, placing his hand on her leg and stroking it back and forth. And Jia said they were fishmen, whalemen, Lorana said softly, swatting his hand away. For it, Fang Hao used the word whale casually to explain that fish come in different sizes. And Jia then explained this to everyone. It's called ancient blood god servant. I guess it might be because it used to be the size of a merman, but I'm not entirely sure why. Fang Hao explained. This isn't entirely a wild guess. Rather, it was derived from the patterns painted on the murals in the temple at that time. The proportions of the fishmen in the murals were more harmonious than those of the fishmen today. It wasn't as bizarre and deformed as it is now. Oh, Lorana replied, continuing to read the novel in her hands. Fang Hao noticed that she didn't react. He went straight up to her and picked her up in his arms. Oh dear, Lorana exclaimed, instinctively putting her arm around his shoulder. Fang Hao ignored her glare and carried her directly into the nearby hot spring. The two sat down by the pool. Fang Hao put one arm around her shoulder and reached into her open clothes at the other end. Snap! He gave it another light slap and scolded. What are you doing now? Fighting back like this outside is so disrespectful. I checked when I came, and Jia and the others are all at amusement park and won't be back for a while. Fang Hao chuckled. Lorana hesitated for a moment, but still let go of the hand she was holding. Under the moonlight, her fair skin made the entire backyard seem brighter. Her large, watery eyes gazed into his, and her bright red and purplish lips were glistening with water droplets. The silk nightgown clung tightly to her delicate body, accentuating her slender waist and highlighting her perfect, curvaceous figure. Her skirt billowed up, revealing her slender, jade-like legs. They gazed at each other for a short while, then leaned against him, recovering their strength. That's all. Dark gold hero, my foot. Fang Hao patted her back lightly, but his words were sarcastic. Lorana didn't say anything, but bit her lip, spun around on him, and sat in his lap with her back to him. Just keep acting up. As he moved, the pool water rippled. Fang Hao smiled slightly, his hands clasped in front of him. Lorana grabbed his hand, her expression having recovered somewhat, and said seriously, have you thought about what will happen next? What about the back? I'm okay with that, but are you sure you can accept it? Lorana blushed even more, pinched him lightly, and said, I mean, now that things have come to this, how are we going to explain it to Rebecca? She trusts us so much. Forehead. Oh my God, I misunderstood. It's nothing, right? Just tell her directly. She should understand, Fang Hao said. Oh, what do you mean by understanding? Why are you so simple-minded sometimes? Lorana immediately retorted. Actually, Rebecca had previously intended to mediate between her and Fang Hao. So what do you think we should do? Lorana thought for a moment, then said softly, what do you think of Rebecca? Me? Fang Hao didn't understand why he was being asked that. She's fine, what's wrong? Lorana continued. I can sense that she has a very good impression and feeling towards you. She always praises you, whether intentionally or unintentionally, in front of me. What are you trying to say? Do you want her or not? After all, you are already husband and wife in the Federation, Lorana continued. Fang Hao was taken aback, but immediately understood what she meant. She didn't want to lose Rebecca either, so she could only try to take the relationship between the three of them to the next level. Rebecca shared the same thoughts back then. It feels like we've come full circle. What do you want to do? Let me think about it, and we'll discuss it then, Lorana said. At this point, neither of them spoke again. The waves surged again. 3 days later, Fang Hao handed the hero's heart in his hand to the droopy-eared maid Mealy. He said to Mealy, just do your best, don't feel pressured. The maid, who was usually quite bold, was a little nervous at this moment. The already drooping ears drooped even more. She glanced at the other maids around her, then straightened her back and said, "Master, do you still stand by your promises? The advanced trial is about to begin, so pay attention to these things. That counts. As long as you become a hero and one more person succeeds, we can add an amusement park facility," Fang Hao said. "No. And you also said that becoming a hero means having your own place to live and a hot spring," Mealy emphasized again. "Oh right, that's the foundation. Once you reach the hero level, you can get a separate mansion. Hot spring is also separate." "No way. I want to go soak in the hot spring in Lord's Manor's backyard too." "Ah." Fang Hao glanced at Yer, who smiled slightly at him. Fang Hao thought for a moment, then nodded and said, "It's not impossible, but we need your sister Yer's permission first." "Yeah." Mealy clenched her fist and made a victory sign. Hot spring is the same for all of them, but for some reason, the hot spring following Lord's Manor is particularly popular with maids. The group arrived at the merit trial ground. Everyone offered a few words of encouragement in hushed tones. "It's like going to war." Mealy took a deep breath and slowly walked into the training ground. In a flash of light, it disappeared from sight. "You'd better work hard. Mealy is mischievous by nature, and you won't be able to control her." Fang Hao joked, secretly pinching Mealy's tail when no one was looking. Yer blushed and leaned closer to her. "She wouldn't dare, and besides, I'm not that far behind. I'll be a hero soon too." Yer has also reached level 7, and the rate of improvement is not slow. "Yes, Yer is certainly no worse than anyone else," Fang Hao said with a smile. For Yer, who had followed him the longest and taken care of the entire territory, her status had long since ceased to be that of a maid. The two were simply used to calling each other master and servant, so they continued to do so. Yer blushed and twisted her body slightly, but she was too embarrassed to be too presumptuous in front of the maids. Then, he suddenly said, "Master, I figured out how to use that big pot you gave me a couple of days ago." "Oh, what's it used for?" Yer immediately said, "Maids, after making a pot of meat soup, I can clearly feel that they have more energy and are in better spirits during training." Glutton's golden stew pot. The proportion is that of the stew pot used by trolls. The pot is too big, so, for now, it's been handed over to maids, and everyone can eat together, which is perfect for them. It has this effect too. Let's take a look together when we have dinner tonight. Fang Hao was also somewhat surprised. It seems this pot does have some special uses. "Yes, master." Yer smiled broadly. She was happy to be able to help Fang Hao. Just as the two were talking in hushed tones, skeleton merchant Du Jin walked over quickly. "Lord Monsieur." After bowing, she continued, "My lord, Lizardfolk Queen, sending a teleportation request." Lizardfolk Queen? Did they come back together with Dimitrika? Fang Hao nodded. "Take them directly to Lord's Manor." "Yes, sir." Du Jin turned and left immediately. Fang Hao then said to Yer, "You guys wait here for Mealy. Even if it doesn't work out, it's okay. And Jia, you come with me to Lord's Manor." "Yes, master." Yer nodded, and Jia followed Fang Hao and walked together toward the Lord. Two figures emerged from the light screen. Yes, Dimitrika and Lizardfolk Queen. Queen Anastasia did not bring any attendants or guards with her this time. Just the two of them, sweetly and intimately. Through Merchant Alliance, the teleportation light screen has arrived at Fang Hao's side. "Commander Dimitrika, Your Majesty." Du Jin greeted her and then bowed to the queen. From the perspective of the dead, Dimitrika's marriage was a political alliance. As for physical pleasure, it only serves as an obstacle to immortality, causing them to hesitate and be unable to make a decision. "Mr. Du Jin," Dimitrika replied. "This way, Lord. We are already waiting for you both in the hall." Du Jin replied calmly. After saying that, the three of them walked towards Lord's Manor. The Merchant Alliance building is located in the Undead region. To reach Lord's Manor, you will pass through a long area inhabited by the dead. In the past, there was nothing really wrong. Recently, however, the area has been filled with the corpses of giant dragons, like large bats being hung up to dry, taking up the entire square. Beneath the corpse, in a special container, was the dragon's blood. The air was thick with the stench of blood. Lizardfolk Queen, she's someone who's seen a lot in the world. In any situation, one can remain calm and analyze the problem. But what I saw before me, it still startled her. I almost grabbed Dimitrika and turned back. "What's going on? Has Fang Hao massacred Dragon Peak Mountain? Why are there so many dragon corpses? Who exactly did I choose as my allies?" Thank you to the Trajectory of Angels for the generous donation. What's going on? The queen asked, her heart still pounding. Dimitrika also shook his head. He was in charge of the main city's defense, and there was no dragon territory around it. He was also curious about where so many dragon corpses came from. But what is certain is that during the time he was away, something big has happened in the main city. The queen hesitated, but Dimitrika quickened her pace. Along the way, they encountered some undead craftsmen, who also greeted Dimitrika. The entire city, it seemed to be divided into two areas. On one side, dragon corpses hung everywhere, their blood radiating into the sky. On one side, everything was normal. Production was in full swing, and people were playing chess. Inside Lord's Manor, despite Fang Hao's enthusiasm, the queen's expression remained unpleasant. After a few simple pleasantries, he went straight to the point and asked, Fang Hao, what exactly happened here? Killing dragons is no small matter. Even though she and Dimitrika were very much in love, she still felt a pang of regret for allying with Fang Hao. This isn't an ally, this is a bomb. It could damage your own bomb. Fang Hao took a sip of tea and explained, a few days ago, the dragon clan launched an attack on my territory with their troops. Fortunately, I had enough troops, so the damage wasn't too great. It's described so casually, as if it were a bandit's raid. However, those rows of dragon corpses were not as simple as he had described. Dragon clan, how many troops have you deployed, and what rank are the commanders? The queen continued to ask. Well, in terms of troop strength, there are 100 giant dragons, a few pterosaurs, pseudo-dragons, and so on. The leaders are 2 orange heroes from the dragon race. Fang Hao didn't hide anything. When you say 100 heads, the queen's heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would burst out of her chest. Good heavens, this feud is so deep, there's absolutely no room for reconciliation. He wanted to angrily tell him that he had caused trouble, but the words stuck in his throat. After all, they are not the same force. Moreover, since things have come to this point, there's no point in saying anything more. I took 2 deep breaths to keep myself from getting angry. After all, now is not the time for her to be too emotionally volatile. I've also decided that I'll come here less often in the future. So what are your plans next? Dealing with the dragons? With the current strength of the main city's forces, as long as the dragons don't come out in full force, there's no danger, Fang Hao said confidently. Lizard Folk Queen was speechless again. What a boastful tone. That's the Dragon Clan, a top-tier force capable of annihilating most other powers. The way you described it makes it sound just like the Orc city-state next door. Fang Hao didn't want to dwell on this and changed the subject, asking, how's your married life? The queen and Dimitrika exchanged a glance. It's all right, the queen said, uttering only 2 words. Judging from their appearance, there shouldn't be any problem with this pilgrimage conception. The queen continued, I've come here today to confirm with you again whether you still need glazed tiles. We can prepare the stock for you now. With the pilgrimage over, the restoration of all the temples has also come to an end. At this point, the glazed tiles produced were only for external sale. As an ally, Fang Hao would naturally prioritize providing it. Although she is now very dissatisfied with her ally, I wish I could tear the alliance agreement to shreds. Upon hearing that this was the reason for the visit, Fang Hao was overjoyed. That's wonderful. The territory still needs glazed tiles, and the more the better. Didn't you say we only needed 5,000 pieces? Why is more the better? Fang Hao smiled slightly. Provide for other affiliated cities. The queen didn't want to ask any more questions. All right, I'll go back and make preparations for you as soon as possible. Yes, thank you, Your Majesty. We are allies. That's to be expected. But I hope that we can be more cautious in making some decisions so as not to cause too much trouble. Yes, the queen and I share the same idea. To develop discreetly. After discussing the main matters, we moved on to some casual conversation. We chatted about things at Lizard Man and also about the situation in the main city. Starting tomorrow, Dimitrika will be able to return to work, strengthen the defenses of the main city. Although they live in different places, it doesn't affect his life with the queen. Returning to Lizardman's side is also quite convenient. It can be done using a teleportation array. After all, they were newlyweds, a time when they were deeply in love. After their conversation, Fang Hao asked Dimitrika to take the queen to the east of the city to check out the amusement park construction site. In front of the construction site, there is a preview image, hand-drawn by a craftsman. After all, the only thing worth mentioning is this project where tens of thousands of dead were working on it simultaneously. The queen has just left. Several small heads peeked out from outside the door, peering over the doorframe. seeing that there were no outsiders present. Yer, Xiaobai, Mealy, and all the other maids squeezed in. Moon Virtue White Lion, Mealy, Green Second Order. It was a success. Fang Hao was also pleased to see the name change of Mealy. However, the name Moon Virtue White Lion is a bit of a mouthful. Furthermore, what is the connection between the rabbit and the white lion? But it doesn't matter, as long as my abilities have improved and my physical fitness has increased. In this world's rules, social hierarchy affects lifespan and health. Fang Hao also hopes that these rabbits can live longer. Humph. Mealy snorted, crossed her arms, and adopted a haughty demeanor once again. Mealy, not bad. I thought you wouldn't succeed, Fang Hao said deliberately. Mealy raised her head even higher. How could I possibly fail? Well, how about we throw a party tonight to celebrate for Mealy? Fang Hao said, drawing out the syllables. All the maids' eyes lit up slightly. Okay. Mealy immediately jumped up and down. Fang Hao looked at Yer beside him and asked, Yer, do you think we should celebrate? Yer nodded. As you wish, master. All right. Then finish your training early this afternoon. Come back and prepare, and we'll have a banquet tonight. Yay! All the maids cheered in unison. Once the cheers subsided a bit, Fang Hao stood up and said, Let's go, Mealy. I'll build you a separate mansion. From now on, you'll have your own house and a hot spring. Okay, Mealy nodded. Fang Hao, accompanied by a large group of maids, headed towards the hero's residential area. As I passed by, I happened to see the snake woman, Bayu, lying on a deck chair, sunbathing. A slender snake tail stretched out and drooped to the ground. It always gives people a sense of danger. My lord, Monsieur. Bayu sat up and gave a slight bow. During this period, Bayu seems to have become a different person and is no longer the pirate she used to be. Yes, Bayu, Mealy has become a hero. From now on, you two will be neighbors. Please look after each other, Fang Hao instructed. Bayu nodded, and Mealy smiled shyly. We arrived at an open space on one side. Fang Hao began building her a house and a hot spring. Maritime, fire, Bai Xian ordered coldly. The crew member next to him immediately shouted, Fire. The orders were passed down one after another. The gunners, who were already prepared, lit the fuses. Boom, boom, boom. With the roar of cannons, the cannonballs whistled as they hurtled towards the ships opposite. Meanwhile, other ships from the Straw Hat Navigation Group in the vicinity also opened fire. For a moment, the sound of cannons was deafening. The smoke of gunpowder began to spread continuously in the air. 2 hits, 3 misses, a sailor reported loudly. No sooner had the words left his mouth than a sailor on the lookout tower shouted, Enemy cannonball. Everyone was startled and immediately lowered their stance. Bang bang. The cannonball was thrown down, sending wood chips flying everywhere. In an instant, the ship was filled with the agonizing cries of the severely wounded crew members. Sister Xian, are you all right? Su Yuanhang rushed over from the bow of the boat and pulled up by Xian, whose forehead was bleeding. It's all right. We'll organize a counterattack, Bai Xian said, leaning against the wooden railing. Okay, be careful. After saying that, Su Yuanhang walked back to the deck and shouted, Carry the wounded down, load up the cannonballs, and kill them all. Quick, get moving. The crew members, who were dazed and confused from the bombardment, staggered to their feet. They began preparing according to orders. This is the ocean. It's either the enemy or you die. There is no third option. Boom, boom, boom. Cannon kept spewing out cannonballs, filling the air with smoke. Cannonballs passed back and forth, while sailors leaned against the railings, loading gunpowder and marbles into their fire guns. At this distance, the fire gun is not very effective, but once the battle begins, they can't just stand by and watch. Boom, boom, boom. The cannonball was launched again and crashed into the enemy fleet. Similarly, the enemy's counterattack also landed on the ship's hull. Fire guns were thrown onto the deck, and more people began running into the cabins to repair the damaged hull. Do everything you can to keep the ship in the best possible condition. Bai Xian opened Lord's book and went to the Alliance channel. The Razor is severely damaged and cannot move. It needs cover. Tiger Shark is on its way, giving you time to repair it. He glanced at the ships directly attacking him and immediately sent a message. Eastern number, the second sea ship, Qing Feng. Focus fire on it and take it down in no time. Clear. Looking up, Bai Xian shouted to Su Yuanhang. Second ship, prepare for a salvo. Okay. Su Yuanhang immediately ran down. Adjust the angle, second ship, launch. Boom. At the same time, the ships on one side also roared with cannon fire. The ship opposite was hit by at least 5 cannonballs, paralyzed and unable to move. Just as Bai Xian was about to give the order to sink the enemy directly, the sailors on the lookout tower shouted, "The mermen are on the move." A large number of mermen are approaching. Bai Xian's expression changed. Seeing the dense, dark shadows underwater in the distance, Bai Xian immediately ordered, "Retreat, stop fighting them." At the same time, a retreat order was also issued in the channel. The war among the transmigrators appears to be exceptionally intense. But on this sea, once the fishmen and sea creatures show up, they have no chance to resist at all. Not only were the people from the Straw Hat Navigation Group in a panicked retreat, but the Japanese were also organizing their own evacuation. After we got far away from this area, Su Yuanhang reported, "Sister Xian, according to the statistics, 22 crew members died and 75 were injured. The Razor was not repaired when the fishmen arrived and had to board another ship to retreat ahead of time, so it can be considered a loss of a sea vessel." Bai Xian nodded, his mood growing increasingly depressed. "After buying the cannon, I only gained a significant advantage in the first 2 battles against the enemy. But today, upon closer inspection, it turns out the other side also obtained cannon, and its power is no different from ours. The sea creatures haven't intervened yet. If they help the Japanese, our side will have no chance of winning. Sister Xian, how about we give up on this treasure?" Su Yuanhang said softly. The entire alliance devoted all its energy and resources to the treasure recorded on the treasure map. He also owes Fang Hao a huge debt. Moreover, they haven't gained a significant advantage yet, and if this continues, it might drag the entire alliance down. Bai Xian sighed and said, "If we leave it alone now, we won't even have the chance to go out to sea in the future, and then we'll just be blocked and attacked by them." Main city. The dwelling was completed. Fang Hao just started by checking Meili's attributes. Moon Virtue White Lion, Meili, Green Second Order. Maids, overjoyed, began decorating Meili's house. Fang Hao quietly returned to Lord's Manor to check Meili's attributes. Moon Virtue White Lion, Meili, Green Tier 2. Faction, Orcs, Racial Traits, Living Beings, Dexterity, Vigilance. Legion Talent, Leaping Hero, Melee Commander. Skills, Quick Draw, Precision Shot, Charge, Power, Ferocity, Intimidating Shout, Half Moon Kick, Lion King Fist, Increased Leg Strength. Inherent Abilities, Intermediate Combat Mastery, Intermediate Herbalism Mastery, Intermediate Bandaging Mastery, Intermediate Calculation Mastery, Intermediate Swordsmanship Mastery, Intermediate Firearms Mastery, Intermediate Horsemanship Mastery, Advanced Physical Combat Mastery. Agility, Agile in body, possessing speed far exceeding that of ordinary people, and able to perform relatively difficult movements. Warning, Rabbit Folk, naturally alert, can sense danger approaching. Jumping Hero, this unit's commander, the army, has plus 25% leg strength. Melee Commander, this unit's commander, the army, gains plus 15% melee attack and plus 10% defense. Quick Draw, passive, draw speed plus 10%, firearm accuracy plus 5%. Precision Shooting, passive, proficient in using firearms. Firearm accuracy increases by 5% while moving and by 10% while stationary. Charge, active, movement speed plus 8%, attack power plus 5%. Powerful, active, strength plus 12%. Vicious, passive. When at a disadvantage, all attributes increase by 8%. Intimidating Shout, active. Shout with extreme ferocity to induce a brief state of panic in the target for at least 3 seconds. Half Moon Kick, active. Spin in the air and use your foot to create a half-moon shape, dealing damage to the enemy. Lion King Fist, active. A skill learned from the Fierce Lion clan, unleashing a barrage of punches and kicks like the roar of a tiger or lion. Increasing attack power by 100% for 72 seconds. Increased leg strength, passive. This hero gains 120% increased leg strength. Description: Rabbit folk are different from other orcs. They do not follow the principle of attack first, think later, but are good at thinking. Meili's attributes surprised Fang Hao. What a hodgepodge of skills. Quickly drawing a gun and shooting accurately is easy to understand. Fang Hao had them train with firearms. The purpose at the time was to enable them to have some ability to protect themselves. Aside from these two, the subsequent skills are an integration of many skills. Charge, power, ruthlessness, and intimidating shouts are skills of bandits. And these are also some of the attributes of Grizzly Reed. Lion King Fist is clearly the fierce Lion Clan's Beast King Fist, but its power is more than half less than Orange's second-tier, pure main Lion King. The techniques also change from fist techniques to physical arts, including both fist and foot techniques. The final skill is called Increased Leg Strength, which is a passive skill. In other words, it takes effect automatically. Leg strength increased by 120%, which is actually a pretty good attribute. No wonder, Mealy's thighs seem much firmer. The final, inherent skills are even more outrageous. Aside from combat proficiency, he knows a little bit about herbalism, bandaging, calculation, and so on, but none of them are at a high level. A jack of all trades, master of none. Anyway, it doesn't matter, and I didn't expect Mealy to be able to rush to the front line of the battlefield. To become a hero is all that matters, as long as you're healthy. After viewing Mealy's attributes, Fang Hao continued reading Lord's book and turned to the regional channel. Messages kept scrolling. Recruiting teammates. Looking for brothers to team up to explore ancient tomb in Green Skeleton Valley. Contract team. Looking for strong units. Loot split equally. For sale. Dwarven blue quality shield. Lightweight and highly defensive. Private message me if interested. Exposing someone. Shunbai, the vice leader of the Qingyan Alliance. He refused to pay after the fact. Attached are screenshots of the chat. Image. Holy crap, is this that exciting? Young people these days, they're really playing weird games, slurp. At this moment, the leader of the Azure Flame Alliance personally responded. Shunbai, the deputy leader, has been temporarily removed from his position. The Alliance will conduct an investigation and will provide a response afterward. As time went by, the situation stabilized. The translators are no longer as chaotic as they were at the beginning. What happened in the past may not matter to anyone, but now if an alliance has a bad reputation, it will be difficult to recruit members. They might even be condemned by everyone and targeted by a united front. Therefore, all the major leagues have begun to pay attention to their reputation. At least on the surface, one should be full of positive energy. It's become somewhat like the various guilds in the old days of playing games, where those with bad reputations would be ostracized by players. After discussing the issue of getting something for free without paying for a while, the topic was quickly overtaken by the others. Fang Hao was about to turn it off, but then stopped. Straw Hat Navigation Group is recruiting. Those skilled in naval warfare and adept at sailing are preferred. Excellent benefits. Let's fight the Japanese together. Images. The speaker is by Xian. The accompanying pictures showed huge ships and gleaming cannons on their decks. These pictures attracted considerable attention when they were released. Holy crap, giant ships and cannons. The romance of men. I'm going to be the pirate king. At Bai Xian. What if the territory isn't by the sea? Does anyone have a home remedy for athlete's foot? I'll trade blueprints. It's so uncomfortable. Fang Hao was curious about Bai Xian's situation. Not long ago, I traded the fire gun and cannon for myself. And today I'm recruiting transmigrators again. Is this a move to expand and develop? That's good. It seems that the cannon I provided played a significant role. Seeing that people in the channel were starting to discuss home remedies for athlete's foot, Fang Hao switched the channel to World Channel. The messages kept scrolling by at a rapid pace, but nothing important came of it. Fortunately, the hype surrounding Fang Hao and Aragon has gradually subsided. I took a special look. It was the artist who draws comics. The best-selling product has also become a hot-blooded anime, a comic about urban superpowers. However, they also gained popularity for the shop through the book Dragon's Servant Marriage. This urban fantasy novel has sold very well. Fang Hao also got a copy, which he planned to give to Lorana and maids. After all, they tend to like these new things. The sky had just begun to darken. Maids then began preparing for today's banquet. The banquet hall had been redecorated, decorated with lanterns and colorful streamers, just like a festival. The long, narrow dining table was also covered with a new table runner. One by one, the fragrant dishes were served on the table. The kitchen, stood on the wooden stool that had been set up, vigorously stirring the food in the huge stew pot. A fragrant aroma of food wafted through the air. Everyone standing nearby swallowed hard. This stew pot is the same type used by the trolls, but it was a reward from opening a treasure chest and had never been used. I'm not afraid of getting sick. The aroma made Fang Hao feel a surge of hunger in his stomach. The food was ready quickly. Yer ladled out a small bowl of meat soup and placed it in front of Fang Hao. Master, this is the meat soup everyone drank yesterday. Twilight beef soup, green. Category, food. Effect, stamina recovery +10, Focus plus 4%. Lasts 120 minutes. Description: a light, nomadic-style broth made by stewing beef shoulder from yaks with vegetables. Oh my god, they actually created attributes for a food item. Although people always say that eating seafood is good for your health, this is good for your back, that is good for your liver. However, the system did not provide any evaluation. Now, this bowl of meat soup provides a boost to both physical and mental strength. Let's think about it another way. This is a budget version of alchemical potions. It not only satisfies hunger, but also tastes better than regular potions. Alchemy potions require expensive materials and a long cultivation period. This meat soup uses common ingredients such as beef, sweet potato, radish, and fennel. This instantly reduced the construction cost. Master, how is it? Yer asked when he saw him staring blankly at the beef soup. Have you tried any other ingredients? Yer got off the wooden stool. Not yet. Is there anything special about this broth? It's very good. After drinking this broth, it can improve physical strength and increase concentration within 2 hours, Fang Hao explained. Oh, no wonder everyone says they have more energy for training after drinking this soup. Yer replied with a smile, seemingly just finding the soup pleasant but not anything special. Fang Hao continued. A potion with the same effect would cost at least tens of warfire coins per bottle. Don't you think that making a whole batch can save a lot of money? Upon hearing this, Yer and the other maids beside him showed expressions of surprise. Now that you mention it, this whole pot of meat soup, wouldn't that save you thousands of warfire coins? Fang Hao smiled and said, Yer, I'll leave this to you. Record the materials used and the desired effects. Okay, Yer immediately agreed. Okay, let's serve the food then. Let's start the banquet first. Great, maids exclaimed, and began carrying the food to the restaurant. After a brief commendation of Mealy's hard work and promotion, the banquet begins. Several long tables were filled with maids, earth spirit maidens, and harpy. Amidst laughter and chatter, they enjoyed a sumptuous meal. On the other side, among those attending the banquet were the craftsmen of the dead. However, in contrast to the laughter and chatter over there, it was quieter. Several tables of the dead sat with incense burning in front of them, chatting in hushed tones. Some people have even started using pen and paper to make blueprint modifications. Gluttony is also a low-level desire. Immortal ascetics have no need for these. After dinner, maids sang and danced. Even Lorena was dragged into the arena by Njia and danced some kind of dance with everyone. The entire Lord's manor was filled with laughter. The next day, upon waking up in the morning, Fang Hao went to blood prison first. In the past few days, the number of dragons that have successfully signed slave contracts has reached 7. Now, they are all managed by Spencer, who is responsible for patrolling the surrounding area. The focus now shifts to Silver Dragon. Bait and the dragon hero enter the dimly lit dungeon. Baiate's hair was disheveled, and she looked even more disheveled. He closed his eyes and didn't look at her. Bait, the dragon clan hasn't contacted me yet, nor have I received any messages from them looking for you. I can't keep you locked up like this forever. Bait opened her eyes, glaring at him with a look of grievance and resentment. What do you want to say? Let's make a deal. Work for me for 50 years, and I'll set you free. He stared into the other's eyes. 50 years is nothing more than a period of hibernation for your dragon race. It's not too much to ask of you, is it? 50 years is not a long time for the dragon race. In Dragon Peak Mountain, it's common for dragons to hibernate for decades. They simply change locations to kill time. But in the current situation, it's not a matter of how much time it takes. Humans are enslaved by the silver dragons, who hold a very special position among them. That's incredibly bold. But what is there that humans wouldn't dare to do? It's not like the dragons haven't killed them before. You want to enslave me? You're dreaming. Bait roared angrily. This isn't slavery. This is labor reform. Don't you dragons have any disciplinary measures when your clansmen make mistakes? Fang Hao sat down on a stone chair nearby. Bait stopped talking and turned her head to one side, refusing to look at him. At this moment, the dragon hero next door spoke weakly. Lord Fang Hao, I can stay and serve you for 100 years. I hope you can let Miss Bait go back first. She is still a young dragon, and staying here will affect her future growth. Fang Hao looked at him with a puzzled expression. His body was encased in gold, face down, only a foot away from the ground. There are obvious wounds on the exposed part of the neck. This is to prevent the dragon's regenerative abilities from being restored, keeping him in a weakened state. To be honest, this kind of environment is actually very harsh for them. You want her to leave? Fang Hao looked at him. Yes, Mr. Fang Hao. I believe that after Miss Bate returns, she will also persuade the dragons to cease their hostility towards you and instead coexist peacefully. The dragon hero continued. No, I don't need it. Even if he agreed, I won't leave like this, Bate shouted. I had previously learned about the relationship between these two from Spencer. The relationship between dragon heroes and Bate is somewhat like that of a protector in a fantasy novel. In other words, it is to protect young or incapable people so that they can grow up safely. I will not let you go, but you can choose to serve me together for 50 years each. Once the time is up, you will be free. You can consider it. Fang Hao planned to get them to obey, and then take things slowly. After saying that, he intended to give the two of them some time to think it over. He didn't continue speaking, but walked straight outside. And from the depths of the cage, the voice of Aragon echoed once more. Mr. Fang Hao, I am willing to serve you for 50 years or 100 years. Please let me out. Fang Hao glanced into the depths. He said, You are of no use to the dragon race. As the footsteps faded into the distance, Aragon continued to plead. Mr. Fang Hao, please let me go out to work. I can't stay locked up here all the time. My body isn't like a dragon's. I can't withstand the environment here. Fang Hao thought for a moment and said, If there's a suitable one, I'll arrange it for you. Thank you. Come out of blood prison. Fang Hao went to the Merchant Alliance store and browsed around. There are still many uncertainties surrounding Bait and Dragon heroes. For example, if Orange heroes cannot use hero contract, how can we ensure they serve us instead of releasing them only to be instantly killed by a dragon breath? So even if they say it, they'll make them serve the territory. Even if they agree, they will not be released until a way to effectively control the two is found. The reason for saying it in advance was that they were sure Bait wouldn't agree anytime soon. Let them think carefully about the pros and cons. They either stay and work for 50 years, or they are imprisoned until they die. They themselves know which one is better. I chatted with Dujin for a while at the Merchant Alliance store. There are no items in the product list that can control Orange Hero. In the end, there still wasn't a very good solution. Return to Lord's Manor. Call Dimitrika here. He'll come with me to the Bloody Mountains later. Fang Hao said to the guard at the door. Yes, sir. Bloody Mountains, Town North City. Clan Hall had changed by then. The floor was covered with a new carpet, and the windows had nice curtains. The walls are also adorned with many artistic calligraphy and paintings. It's improved by more than one level compared to before. The entire troll race began to improve because of trade with the outside world. With the profits, they also brought goods from outside into the tribe. On the throne of the clan chief, Stila, the troll chieftain, sat atop the throne, her face somewhat somber. Below sat several tall, strong male trolls. After a brief silence in the hall, a male troll said, Chief Stila, these are the strongest and most promising men in the tribe. You must choose one to be your husband, or have them fight it out to determine the most suitable one. Choosing a husband for the clan chief. This isn't the first time this matter has been brought up within the troll community. Stila was someone Fang Hao forcefully promoted. She was a woman with no talent for combat, and despite taking many potions, she only reached level 7. For trolls, who are naturally strong, this is just the level of an ordinary troll. As the tribe gradually stabilized, although they dared not overthrow Stila, they devised another method. Choose a husband for Stila, and then gradually erode her power. Stila, of course, understood these people's intentions, but there's nothing I can do. The tribes below had clearly made prior arrangements. The Lord needs someone to manage the trolls, and whether that person is her or not is actually not important. Before Stila could speak, the people below continued to urge him on. Chieftain, if you keep dragging this out, I'm afraid the people below will have a lot of complaints. The best man in the tribe is right here. You will eventually need a husband. At your age, you should have had children long ago. You'll eventually need a strong man. I think we should have a fight. The winner will become the chieftain's husband. The sounds made Stila's face grow increasingly grim. Sweat had already appeared on his forehead. This is what forces her to choose a husband today. Just then, the trolls below secretly made a decision. A light curtain appeared in the center of the hall. Two figures emerged from the light screen. In an instant, the noisy hall fell silent. This wasn't the first time they'd seen such a light screen. Of course, I knew it was the Lord who had come. Oh no, this forced marriage was only halfway through when a powerful backer showed up. The trolls immediately panicked. Lord, the trolls bowed in unison. Fang Hao opened his eyes and looked at the trolls in the hall. Oh, you're having a meeting? You guys go ahead. I'm not in a hurry. No, I was just discussing some things with Chief Stila. A troll immediately replied. Are you kidding me? This human lord almost wiped out the Bloody Mountains. Let him know that if he's forcing Stila to choose a man, he might just get them all killed. Another troll chimed in. Yeah, it's nothing. Fang Hao looked at Stila curiously. What's going on? Stila didn't want Fang Hao to know that she lacked authority, so she said directly, all right, you guys go back first. I'll consider what happened earlier. Yes, chieftain. The trolls bowed and immediately withdrew. Only a few people remained inside the hall. Stila then quickly stepped down from the throne above. He bowed respectfully, saying, Lord, Dimitrika is in charge. Stila is becoming less and less like a troll. She's wearing a dark red slit dress and nice gold jewelry around her neck and wrists. She appears mature and elegant. In addition, the troll's tall stature gives it the feel of an 8-foot-tall adult. Fang Hao nodded, then surveyed the decorations inside the hall. Stila, look at the changes on the troll side. Stila bowed again and said with gratitude, I also want to thank you for your support, Lord. The caravan has brought goods and funds from the outside world to our people. Sit down and talk. There's no need to stand all the time. Stila sat down to the side and continued. Sir, is there anything you need me to do here today? Stila, Troll Tier 7 Warrior. It's still at the 7th rank. Trolls are a race whose natural physical constitution far surpasses that of most others. It's still at the 7th rank. This shows that Stila's combat talent is very limited, and it is basically difficult to improve. Nothing else to tell you. I'm just here to bring you some things. As Fang Hao spoke, he took out the chief's crown and several troll spellbooks. The chief's crown is the crown worn by the wretched ogre chieftain, increasing troll dominance by 50%. Aside from Stila, it's not needed anywhere else. The remaining spellbooks were also found at the wretched ogre camp, and only trolls can learn them. These, Stila hesitated and did not take them. By the way, do you know how to read? It's the troll script. Fang Hao suddenly remembered as he looked at the book. You couldn't find a single troll who could read for miles around. If it's troll script, I recognize it. Fang Hao nodded and said, This crown enhances your attack and defense, and also increases the troll's dominance, making it perfect for you. He pushed a few more books forward, saying, These are magic books from the troll race. Your rank is advancing too slowly, making it difficult for you to gain respect among the trolls. Try learning magic during this time. If you succeed, your strength will greatly improve. Stila stared wide-eyed at what was before her, somewhat incredulous. My heart was pounding with every word Fang Hao uttered. Crown magic book. Only she herself knew the situation she faced within the clan. There are directions for increasing dominance and improvement. Fang Hao had actually arranged everything for her in advance. A bittersweet feeling suddenly rose in my heart. Thank you, sir. Stila's life was given to her by you, and she will do her best to serve you in the future. With a thud, Stila knelt down again, her forehead pressed against the ground. Troll Stila's loyalty to you has increased by 3 points. Current loyalty is 100 Da. Your unit, Troll Stila, has reached 100 loyalty points and will be unaffected by any destabilizing effects such as betrayal or treachery. A system notification sounded in my ear. Stila's loyalty level has also reached 100 points. It's reached the point where we would never betray each other. Fang Hao also didn't expect that the last 3 points would increase directly this time. But it wasn't in vain that I supported her. Stila has always done a good job. The only downside is that the rank advancement is too slow. Other races might be better off, but for the troll race, the standard for measuring power is strength. If Stila continues to weaken, problems will definitely arise in the long run. Stila lay prone on the ground. Beneath the loose-fitting bosom lies a massive, deformed object. Fang Hao looked away and said, Stila, get up. Yes, sir. Stila stood up and sat back down. Try putting on the crown. If it doesn't fit, I'll take it back and have Goldsmith alter it for you. Fang Hao continued. Stila was a little embarrassed, but she still picked up the golden crown and put it on her head. It looks big, but it fits perfectly when worn. In an instant, her entire demeanor transformed from that of a tribal chief to that of a queen with real power. It has a touch more elegance. Not bad. It looks quite nice. You can wear it today. You need to be more diligent in learning magic, and don't teach it to others before you've mastered it, Fang Hao said, adding a word of advice after praising it. The one who will be given priority support is Stila, whose loyalty is 100 points. I understand, sir. Next, Fang Hao listened to her report on the troll's situation and the caravan's subsequent plans. After finishing their business, They returned to the main city with Dimitrika. 2 days later, a light rain began to fall from the sky. Mates has also suspended training. Inside the room, Fang Hao rested his head on Yur's fair and slender thighs, looking at the Lord's book and browsing the content on the channel, passing the time. Holy crap, the Chongshu Guild raid yielded a purple equipment blueprint, and they're currently gathering materials to produce it. Damn, at least the golden chest can give you purple. Blueprint it. You're so smart. Now, the Chongshu Society is going to be rich. They can sell equipment, collect materials, and snowball their fortunes. Chongshu Society is awesome. They're not afraid at all. Not afraid of being awesome. Not afraid of being awesome. This. Fang Hao stared blankly at the flood of messages in the channel. A single piece of purple gear with blueprint. Is that really necessary? Upon closer reflection, it seems quite normal. Currently, green and blue equipment are circulating in large quantities within the channel. Sets are rare items. Purple is definitely high-end equipment. It's normal to be praised. I could sell some purple equipment in the shop to attract customers. Increase the activity level of some stores. The regional channel is flooded with posts. Fang Hao switched to the world channel to see what everyone was talking about. Once you open it, you'll see all sorts of ads for buying equipment and recruiting members for alliances. It keeps scrolling upwards. For sale, bone powder of undead heroes, containing powerful immortal energy that can cure most internal diseases and slow down aging. Purchased directly from the shop. Holy crap, is this for sale? If you're talking about value, I can ship in bulk. There's plenty to go around. Fang Hao clicked on the person's shop and found that there was indeed a product called bone meal, but obviously no one was buying it. Those who believed you were eliminated in the very beginning. Bulk purchases of precision parts, some with private messages at a price. For sale, Dwarven Royal Tableware, pure gold and silver attribute-free products, the best items to signify status. For sale, Elven Race Fruit Wine. Minimum order is 2 large barrels. Can be redeemed directly at the store. The information from the World Channel is rather mixed. All sorts of props, goods, and even some strange and unusual items can be found for sale. The hand that was turning downwards paused slightly. Magic Book sells magic manuscripts. By reading and learning from them, you can acquire the skills recorded within. 1 book can be exchanged for 1 piece of purple equipment, which can be purchased at the shop. A magic book? A handwritten copy? Well, magicians can spend time studying and researching. But Fang Hao only came into contact with complete books. A handwritten copy, I think, refers to something I copied myself. I don't know if it's safe to study. Out of curiosity, I opened the other party's shop. There were quite a few miscellaneous items, including pens, paper, and various gold and silver bookmarks. I don't know where they got these from. There are only 2 kinds of magic manuscripts. One is defensive earth magic use, and the other is stay alert. It appears that one is earth magic and the other is mental magic. The condition for exchanging both is a purple item. Because it was a handwritten copy, no one could confirm what was written inside. Maybe if you switch them over, there will be 2 swear words inside. Even if we lose money, we'll still be angry. Moreover, purple equipment is top tier right now. So who would use purple equipment to test whether someone is a scammer? Therefore, in the shop's transaction records, neither of these 2 handwritten copies was sold. Fang Hao thought about it. In the warehouse, I found a piece of purple equipment that had been destroyed in battle, and I traded it for a book on defensive earth magic. He was taking a gamble and wanted to test whether handwritten copies could actually be used to acquire skills. If it works, you can also arrange for someone to copy down the magic books you have. After the exchange is successful, I now have a paper book in my hand, bound with thread. The workmanship is rather rough. I flipped it open and took a look. Call. I breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully, it contained normal information. Whether or not a handwritten copy can be studied, at least the content is true. I opened it and glanced at it a few times. You can roughly tell what type of magic it contains. Stone Skin is an earth-based magic that increases one's defense. Actually, it's not bad. It all depends on whether you can learn it by then. Just as Njia was seriously looking at it, she hurriedly ran into the room, jumped onto the bed, and snuggled into someone's arms, lying against their chest. It stuck out its little tongue and licked it. A new novel? What novel? A magic book. Fang Hao put one arm around her. Who uses this kind of paper for their magic books? You must be reading a novel, Njia asserted. Just then, Xiaobai ran in and snuggled into someone's arms from the other side. A new novel? What genre? It's not a novel. It's a handwritten copy of a magic book, just copied directly from the original. Fang Hao continued to explain. Oh, master, When are you going to read a different novel? Xiaobai said again. Fang Hao suddenly remembered the comic book he had exchanged last time. He said, I changed to a different comic book. It's in the drawer in the study. Did you see it? No. Xiaobai and Njia answered and hurriedly got out of bed. He ran towards the study. In the afternoon, the light rain gradually stopped. The air in the city was cool and refreshing after the rain. In preparation for the construction of amusement park, maids, led by Njia, went to the training ground for another training session. Fang Hao lay in bed, and without a lap pillow, he had no choice but to lean against the headboard. Bite! A private message notification sounded. Fang Hao glanced at the message and saw it was from Ma Tianyi. Boss, Bai Xian from Straw Hat Navigation Group has contacted me again. He wants to see you again to discuss something. Talk about business? Did she say what it was about? Fang Hao asked. Lately, I've been seeing Straw Hat Navigation Group hiring in the regional channel. It seems to be developing well. Is he trying to recruit me into the league? I don't know, but from what she said, it seems like she has some kind of treasure, and maybe she wants to exchange items with you. Ma Tianyi guessed. Exchange? I haven't paid back the money I owed myself last time. They want to exchange with me. Okay, I'll go take a look. In the end, Fang Hao agreed. Bai Xian is a very capable and courageous woman. He was able to manage an alliance and even assembled a fleet to fight against enemies. Go over there and see what's going on. Even if it's just to exchange some items, it doesn't matter. After tidying up, I took Dimitrika and headed to Merchant Alliance's tavern. In the private room on the second floor, Fang Hao saw Bai Xian, who had already prepared food and drinks. It was covered by a leather armor, which still had embedded wood chips and scratches. They looked like they had just returned from the battlefield. Commander Bai Xian. Fang Hao smiled and took his seat. Dimitrika also sat down to the side. Bai Xian looked at Dimitrika, his eyes filled with surprise and disbelief. Orange Hero. It's Orange Hero. The generals stationed along the coastal border of the Federation were merely purple heroes, and the highest-ranking heroes she had ever seen. Fang Hao himself actually had Orange's bodyguards. It's almost terrifying. Commander Bai Xian, is there something you need me for? Fang Hao asked with a smile. Bai Xian looked away, forced a smile, and said, I invited Boss Fang Hao here this time because I want to cooperate with you. Cooperate? It's not an exchange of goods, it's cooperation? Oh, what kind of cooperation? Fang Hao asked, even more curious. Bai Xian took out a somewhat tattered leather map from his pocket and said, Treasure map. Do you remember the Day of Grace challenge quest from last time? Our alliance cleared out the monsters, but instead of items and weapons, we got this treasure map. Fang Hao frowned slightly. On the Day of Grace, everyone was discussing the various rewards. There are mainly 3 types: items, equipment, and recruitment scrolls. This is the first time I've ever heard of someone giving me a treasure map directly. Can't you figure it out yourselves? Fang Hao asked, but then he realized what was happening. Previously, Straw Hat Navigation Group went so far as to incur debt to purchase fire guns and cannons, presumably for this very map. But clearly, their federation couldn't handle this treasure map. Bai Xian sighed and said, to be honest, this location on the map is at sea. Not only have we found clues to the treasure, but the Japanese have found them too. He paused for a moment, then continued, we fought several battles, lost a lot of men, and sunk several ships. And the enemy still has the support of the Sea Tribe. We have no more trump cards left. Fang Hao nodded, understanding the other person's meaning from their words. What treasure? Initial suspicion is that it is a huge ship. A giant ship. The ships of that era were actually not very large. At least for modern people, they have seen various giant ships and aircraft carriers through television and games. It's still made Bai Xian solemnly utter the words, giant ship. The first impression it gives is that it's even bigger than an aircraft carrier. Why is it still just speculation? Fang Hao continued to ask. Bai Xian picked up his water glass, took a sip, and then continued to explain. The target location on the treasure map is underwater. We arranged for people to conduct underwater searches in different locations around the area. Through various clues, we deduced that it might be a huge ship. After saying that, he pulled up several photos from the Lord's book. Give it to Fang Hao to check. After her explanation, it did vaguely resemble the shape of part of a ship's hull, but it's hard to say for sure. It could just be a ship-shaped underwater mountain. If it really is a ship, it's far too big. Is there some kind of monster? Why are all the photos so blurry? Murlocs. There are huge Murloc tribes over there. We can't get close at all. We can only choose some remote locations, take pictures, and analyze them. Bai Xian flipped through the photos again. It is a photo of a dead fishman lying on the deck. Its appearance is basically the same as the fishmen Fang Hao saw last time. However, the fishmen in the sea have more colorful scales. They all have the same ferocious appearance. Fang Hao looked at the picture but did not answer immediately. A treasure map without accurate information could contain a high-grade treasure or just ordinary equipment. In this respect alone, Bai Xian is not a qualified partner, because the gains are ambiguous, while the costs are definitely definite. Dealing with the Japanese devils, sea creatures, and fishmen is no easy task. Seeing that Fang Hao did not speak, Bai Xian continued, "If you are willing to join, I can promise that you will have priority in choosing the rewards you receive, and even if you are not satisfied with the final rewards, I can still give you some compensation." It seems that Bai Xian is quite persistent. Even if it really is that giant ship, salvaging it would be very difficult. The reward is so vague and uncertain, so why waste money and manpower? Fang Hao looked at her. If the gains are difficult to achieve, it is time to cut losses. There's no one who's still investing in it. Brother Fang Hao, let me put it this way. If we give up now, or if the Japanese get this reward, we might not even be able to leave the sea in the future. Our alliance relies on the sea for its livelihood. Do you think I can back down now? If I back down, the alliance's escape route will be cut off, Bai Xian said helplessly. Fang Hao nodded, picked up his water glass, and took a sip. Our naval power is inherently inferior to theirs. If we give up this reward again, the alliance will likely lose the strength to compete with the other side. Moreover, the Japanese have the Sea Clan as their backers, while Bai Xian's side is the Federation. The Federation is okay on land, but not at sea. Therefore, Bai Xian dared not gamble, fearing that if he gave up, the other party might actually pull out something good. Commander Bai Xian, I'm not comfortable making a decision on this matter either. I need to go back and discuss it, Fang Hao said tactfully. Of course, but I hope that you can give me an answer, whether you agree or not, so that I can make further arrangements, Bai Xian said. Fang Hao nodded, indicating that it was acceptable. Boss, we've met a few times already, and you've helped me a few times. It's not too much to ask to be friends, is it? I feel a little embarrassed that you always contact Matiani. Bai Xian dropped his serious expression and put on a smile. In an instant, he transformed into a sunny and cheerful person. Of course it's not excessive. I was just planning to add Bai Xian as a member of the group. The two added each other as friends, and then went their separate ways. Bai Xian had other things to do, and Fang Hao didn't want to linger there either. Tavern is out. Should we get involved in this? Fang Hao asked casually as they walked. Dimitrika paused for a moment, then replied, We have virtually no information about them, so we need to be cautious about helping them. Bai Xian and the others didn't even understand what the reward was or what the next step was. My current thought is that if I can't have it, I won't let the other person have it either. This kind of thing is really not suitable for a battle. Yes, that's true. Fang Hao nodded. I walked quickly toward the teleportation light screen. The next day, in front of Blood Prison, Fang Hao has once again signed a slave contract with the three-headed dragon. With the dragon's initial compromise, the subsequent signing of the contract went much more smoothly. There's basically no need for much talking. They just sign it directly. Even if some people are resistant, a little intimidation will get them to sign. The progress is going very smoothly. There are now 10 Tier 10 dragons in the main city. Are these dragons behaving in any unusual way? After the contract was completed, Fang Hao looked at Spencer, standing to the side. No, sir, Spencer said with his hands behind his back. Now each dragon leads 10 bone dragons to patrol the skies above their territory in turns. Anyone who tries to fly out of range will be immediately attacked and killed by the bone dragons. When will these dragons, who have signed contracts, be able to advance to hero status? Fang Hao asked. Spencer thought for a moment. My lord, it is much more difficult for dragons to advance to hero status than for ordinary races. Most dragons will never become heroes in their lifetime, so I think it is better to let their bodies return to normal before they can advance. That makes sense, and these dragons are generally not very loyal. In the 30 to 40 plus range, it's good to increase loyalty during this time. Well, the loyalty of these dragons has never been very high. Is there any way to improve it? Spencer said. My lord, these dragons are currently living in simple tents. We can build them some suitable caves. Dragons cannot transform into human form before they become heroes. The houses that were built are unusable. Okay, I've got this in mind. I'll make the arrangements when the time comes. Spencer nodded. My lord, I will take these dragons and go assign them patrol duties. Okay, go ahead. Return to Lord's Manor. Fang Hao went straight to the third floor and knocked lightly twice on a door. Soon, A cold voice came from inside. Come in. Push open the door and enter the house. Then they saw Lorana, dressed in a nightgown, lying in a coffin in the middle of the room. It wasn't that he was sleeping. Instead, he was holding a comic book and looking at it intently. Didn't you rest? Fang Hao asked with a smile. Lorana moved to the side. Fang Hao glanced at it and still declined the invitation. Although I wasn't afraid, I still felt a bit resistant to lying in a coffin. He reached out and pulled her out of the coffin, and they lay down together on the bed. Lorana smoothed her hair, rested her head on his chest, and kept her eyes on the comic book in her hand. Fang Hao circled Lorana, gently stroking her smooth, jade-like back. The recruited dragon needs a nest to be built. Where do you think would be a good place to build it? Fang Hao reached around to the back and pinched the front. You decide what to do. The Bloody Mountains are a natural mountain range, large enough for humans to carve a cave for them to live in, but it's a bit far away. Fang Hao said as he pondered, gradually increasing the pressure in his hands. Lorana remained indifferent. She didn't care about anything in the main city. Either read novels, or play with birds, or go work as a foreman at the amusement park construction site, just like at Blood Fortress. Don't bother me with anything unless the enemy attacks. Seeing that she still didn't react, Fang Hao continued. I heard that they're building an artificial mountain over amusement park. Maybe it can be used as a dragon's nest. It's also close to the main city. Lorana paused for a moment as she turned the page. She turned back, frowned, and stared at him coldly, saying, No, don't be so stingy. It's part of the landscape anyway. Digging a few caves won't hurt, Fang Hao said with a big smile. No, it's useful on the design drawings. An amusement park is a recreational place, not a place to rest. Lorana turned her body slightly to the side, revealing two long, straight legs crossed beneath her skirt. Does it have a special use? However, according to Lorana, that's actually true. When building caves for dragons, at least ensure they can rest. Amusement park doesn't seem to be a suitable place to rest. Then I'll think of another way. Ugh. Suddenly, Lord's book sent a notification. This sound is not a private message, but rather a message sent from storage space to the communicating conch shell. Fang Hao casually took it out, didn't look at it much, and put it to his ear. Rebecca's voice came from inside. Fang Hao, what are you doing? Both of them paused at the same time, but I quickly realized that this was a communicating conch shell. Say something, Lorana said. Fang Hao glanced at her, hesitating slightly, afraid that the other person might say something like, When are you coming over? I miss you. Seeing Lorana's urging look, Fang Hao replied, Yes, what's up? The person on the other end said, You haven't been here for a long time. Come over this afternoon. The Federation Council has something to discuss. We'll talk about it then. Fang Hao felt relieved. It was all right. It could be explained. Without hesitation, he immediately said, Okay, Lorana is with me. We'll go together. After a brief silence, Rebecca replied, Fang Hao put the conch shell away. Her hand was still around her slender waist. Wait, let's go to Lysis City together. The Federation is always up to something. Kindness. Lysis City. The room was decorated in an elegant style. Rebecca glanced at the two of them with a slightly scrutinizing look. Fang Hao asked directly, Has something strange happened at the council again? Something strange. What I mean is, has something gone wrong again? Fang Hao poured himself a cup of tea and continued to ask. The Sea Clan, after several rounds of negotiations, has still managed to make the situation tense. This time, Doherty has sent Lysis City as a representative of the council to the coastal region to stabilize the situation, Rebecca said softly. Holy crap. Fang Hao had also heard about the negotiations between the Parliament and the sea creatures. Last time, Doherty traded the organ cannon from his side to the southern border to intimidate the sea creatures. Several months have passed, and I thought the matter was over. Unexpectedly, it ended up in a standoff. What did you say? Fang Hao asked. Rebecca glanced at him, her tone calm. In these situations, the council maintains a united front. It is the duty of upper council members to manage special circumstances, as are the Hall of Justice and the Church. This means that while enjoying the privileges of the upper council, one must also fulfill the corresponding responsibilities. There's no way to refuse this. This is a responsibility that upper council members should fulfill, unless you relinquish your upper council membership. So what are your thoughts? Fang Hao nodded to indicate that he understood and continued. The chances of a real conflict between the Sea Clan and the Federation are actually very low, and it's not as dangerous as you might imagine. After all, the Sea Clan can attack the land, and it's also difficult for the Federation to attack the Sea Clan Islands. Most of the time, It's just a show of force to intimidate the other side and demonstrate the Federation's position and attitude, Rebecca explained. That makes sense. When the two sides fight, they are both testing the waters on the edge. Neither can do anything about the other. Sea creatures cannot venture deep into land, and humans are not at an advantage at sea. The possibility of them actually fighting each other is very small, or even impossible. Oh, that's good. It's good that a war doesn't break out. The federal government owes them a huge sum of money in reparations. If the fighting continues, we'll lose money, and repaying the debt will have to be postponed again. I want you to go. Fang Hao was taken aback for a moment, then immediately replied, I'm not going. Why? Rebecca's eyes widened, as if to say, you don't love me anymore. Fang Hao explained, 2 days ago, the Dragon Clan launched an attack on the main city. Although they failed, they are now looking for an opportunity to kill me all over the world. If I show up on the front line, it will not be good for the Federation or for myself. Rebecca's eyebrows were drawn up. She had only just learned that Fang Hao was fighting with the dragons. She had never seen a living one of this legendary race. The only ones I saw were the few bone dragons I encountered in Fang Hao's territory. Are you all right? Rebecca's eyes showed a hint of concern. It's all right. Lorena was in the city at the time. She defeated the dragon leader, and the rest were just ordinary dragons. Fang Hao added, I can't show myself, but I can help arrange some things privately. Okay, let me see. I'll choose someone else to go. Rebecca thought for a moment, then continued. As for the troops, you'll need to arrange some for me. How many people do you want? Not many. 5,000 people will be enough. No need for cavalry. 5,000 people is actually quite a lot without using the undead. Okay, I'll have a nearby transmigrators brought over for you. Fang Hao finally agreed. Okay, Rebecca nodded in satisfaction. By the way, when is Doherty going to fulfill his promise to you as the standard bearer? Are you going to lie to us about this again? Fang Hao suddenly remembered this. At the time, Doherty promised Rebecca the role of a standard bearer. The title doesn't matter, but having a chance to enter the Hall of Blessing is what matters. According to Rebecca, those who go inside will inherit the legacy of humanity's past heroes. Even the worst outcome would be Orange Hero. Next week, I will be going to the Hall of Blessing, so I won't be able to show up, Rebecca said helplessly. Fang Hao nodded. Okay, I'll arrange a bodyguard for you then, to protect your safety. All right. After thinking for a moment, Fang Hao added, once you've chosen a representative for Lysis City, let me know so I can arrange for a transmigrator to be sent in, which will make it easier to transmit messages. Sure, I'll give the instructions later. Give transmigrators the status of an adjutant. After finishing the discussion, Rebecca drank some tea to moisten her throat. Then we moved on to the second matter. There are 12 cities in the Federation that are planning to order armor from me. Do you have any problems with that? Fang Hao was taken aback. About how many sets? Around 50,000 sets of armor, blue quality sets. Rebecca smiled. No wonder Rebecca was so desperate to get into the upper council. They're able to make money back so quickly. 12 cities and 50,000 sets were ordered. A set consists of 4 pieces of equipment, which is a considerable amount. Even if only a tiny bit of profit is extracted from the middle, it would be enough for the entire city of Lysis to make. No wonder they were so persistent in their efforts to persuade the entire Federation to send out caravans. That's a good plan. I have no problem with that. But how is the price determined? Fang Hao continued to ask. A set of equipment costs 350 Warfire coins. I'll take a 2% profit. Is that too much to ask? Rebecca quoted the agreed-upon price. A blue item from Merchant Alliance costs between 100 and 120 Warfire coins. Private transactions are cheaper than through Merchant Alliance. Moreover, Fang Hao has hundredfold amplification, so he's bound to make a profit no matter what he does. Fang Hao could accept the 2% commission that Rebecca set herself, as it was considered a sales commission. It's not excessive. From now on, you'll get a 2% commission on all equipment sold through Lysis City. I'll reward you privately later. A private reward? Rebecca gave her a meaningful look and then pursed her lips. Why didn't you order weapon? Fang Hao asked again. Let's check the quality of the armor first. We'll also order weapons and even crossbows later. Oh, 2 important things have been decided. The two then discussed the caravan and the future development of Lysis City. Rebecca's plan is to build Lysis into a transit point for trade between the Human Federation and orcs, trolls, and undead, to allow goods and capital to flow through the city of Lysis on a large scale. Fang Hao thought it sounded good and suggested she try it first. The two chatted animatedly. Lorena, standing to the side, was still reading her comics. From sitting to leaning back, and finally to lying down. I had no interest in the topic and didn't chime in. On the other side, Sister Xian, has Fang Hao replied to your message yet? Yes, a whole day has passed. They should at least give us an answer, whether they agree or not. Maybe they're busy. After all, they're number one. They can't be as idle as we are, can they? I think he's just putting on an act, thinking he's the best in the world. A day later, messages kept popping up on Straw Hat Navigation Group's affiliate channel. Bai Xian looked at the chat in the channel, but did not reply. Fang Hao's lack of contact was itself a form of response. It seems the other party doesn't think much of the treasure map's rewards either. That makes sense. If you don't know anything, who would bother to spend the time and energy to deal with this? Even though she had expected Fang Hao to refuse, she still felt a little disappointed. All the efforts the League has made from the very beginning until now have been in vain. And then, the Alliance was no longer able to compete with the other side for the treasure on the treasure map. Even in the future, we may not have the ability to challenge the other party. They became fishermen in the nearshore waters. Taking a deep breath, he said in the Alliance channel, "Let everyone withdraw. We're not going to fight over the treasure map anymore." Wow. The channel instantly erupted in chaos. Give up the fight. We've lost so many people and sunk so many ships. Why should we give up the fight? If we can't win, let's fight them. At worst, none of us will survive. If we can't win, we might as well buy some explosive barrels and blow up the Murloc area. Then the Murlocs will retaliate fiercely, and no one will be able to get close. No matter how you bomb it, ships can't even get through the area above the Murlocs. You can bomb the edge a couple of times, but it won't do any good. It's good to cut our losses now. We can continue living in the coastal area. Let's not fight it out. Bai Xian looked at the message on the channel and sighed again. Even after the sun had set, the city lord's mansion remained brightly lit. Inside the room, Lorana changed into purple. She wore a silk nightgown and held an eyebrow pencil in her hand, carefully outlining a pair of arched, embroidered eyebrows. Rebecca, dressed in a beige dress, sat gracefully in front of the dressing table, cooperating with the other person as she meticulously groomed herself, even slowing her breathing considerably. Where did you learn this technique? It's become much more professional than before, Rebecca said, keeping her head still and speaking softly. The three of them had dinner. Rebecca and Lorana then left Fang Hao behind and started tinkering with the cosmetics alone in the room. Lorana then boasted about her newly learned skill and asked Rebecca to cooperate with her. The current dressing up process has begun. I saw those rabbits doing it in the main city, so I followed along and learned a thing or two, Lorana replied without stopping her work. Maids in the main city don't have much work and usually don't have much to do. Hobbies and interests are wide-ranging. Anything new and interesting can attract their attention. I stayed in Lorana for a few days and learned a little bit from her. Actually, you don't need to learn. You can learn just by watching. I know you're amazing, taking so long to shape just one eyebrow. If it weren't for the mirror, I would have thought you were drawing on my face, Rebecca said, looking in the mirror. I must say, the drawing is pretty good. Lorana gently lifted Rebecca's chin, causing her head to tilt slightly upwards, and said, "Such a beautiful face deserves to be meticulously groomed, especially tonight." I heard someone say that I have a pretty face. Rebecca was still a little embarrassed, so she reached out and patted her on the bottom. Keeping her head tilted back, she spoke softly. "It seems you and Fang Hao are getting along well. The way you look at him is different than before." Lorana paused slightly, then quickly said, "What are you talking about? It's you who seems to have a good impression of him." Actually, Fang Hao is all right too. Where did I find any attraction to him? The two of them suddenly fell silent at the same time. They both felt that something was wrong. Lorana put down her eyebrow pencil, took out other tools, and began to style her eyebrows. He casually asked, "If you were to actually find a man, what kind would you want?" "Me? I'm going to say something like that about you." Rebecca smiled faintly. "No. To be honest, if we hadn't met, Lysa's city really needed a city lord. What kind of person were you planning to find?" Lorana put down the tools in her hand. Rebecca picked up the mirror and took a close look at her face. He casually said, "Those who can help Lysa's city and support me, not the arrogant ones who compete with me for profit." "Aren't you talking about Fang Hao? Who said that about him? If I hadn't appeared and Lysa's city really needed a man, would you have chosen Fang Hao?" Lorana's voice suddenly became serious as she looked at her intently. Rebecca frowned again, looking at her with a puzzled expression. "You're not going to go out and beat him up, are you?" "What are you talking about?" "Just asking." "Yes, he fulfills all my requests." Lorana nodded, then lifted the other person's chin again, examined him carefully, and was quite satisfied with her skills. Tonight, you'll be able to charm any man. Yes, it's a woman. Go back to bed. Lorana had Rebecca lie on her side. Then they started searching mysteriously. What are you looking for? Rebecca asked curiously. Soon, Lorana took out a thick black cloth and changed it in front of her. What? Rebecca asked again. A mask. Let's try something different today.